There is a clear reality that many women equate being well-groomed solely with wearing makeup. That is, applying mascara, foundation, or lipstick. They think they are well-groomed when they do these things. However, they also encounter the following scenario. For example, the next day they have to go out without makeup and suddenly start panicking. They say things like, "I can't go out like this, I can't look like this." At this point, it's important to realize that something is clearly wrong. Because I can tell you that looking well-groomed never means just wearing makeup. In fact, looking well-groomed is a complete mental transformation, a complete reconstruction of one's identity, and especially a reflection of the respect you show yourself. And throughout this video, I will explain exactly that to you. So I'll try to explain why makeup is just a tool, and why the real power lies in the regular and sincere awareness we practice every day. The 10 highly effective points I'll share in this video will give you a very different perspective on these topics, believe me. By the way, before we get to the first point, I have a small request. Write, "Today I value myself" in the comments. Because as you know very well, when you put something into writing, it ceases to be just a thought floating around in your mind and becomes a more concrete statement. And many studies show that people who write down their intentions take much more action than those who just think about them. When you write this sentence, you are actually sending a message to your brain. You are saying, "Yes, I will no longer neglect myself." Believe me, this small but very valuable action will be the first step you take when you start your morning routine tomorrow. Now let's start with the first item. 1. Respecting your body is literally fundamental to your mental health. Unfortunately, many people have the following misconception. First, I'll be happy, and then I'll definitely take care of myself. Unfortunately, that's not how things work. In other words, how you actually care for your body, how you treat it, is how your mind treats itself. For example, if you constantly put off brushing your hair, taking a shower, or putting on clean clothes when you wake up in the morning, you are actually sending your brain the message, "I'm not valuable enough, I'm not really worth spending time on." Of course, this small neglect can turn into a huge lack of motivation later on. Thus, every little bit of care you show your body is actually telling your mind, you are very important and very valuable. Think about it. For example, what do you do on any day when you feel really bad? Most likely, you struggle to even get out of bed and you don't even brush your hair, right? Well, does that make you feel better? No, it doesn't. Because you know very well that when you neglect your body, you actually enter an involuntary vicious cycle. You feel bad, so you don't take care of yourself. You feel worse because you don't take care of yourself. The only way to break this cycle is to start by respecting your body. Force yourself to take a shower, get dressed, wash your face. You'll see that these physical actions trigger a mental shift. Now here's the thing, respecting your body means not being at war with it. How many women look in the mirror and complain, "My arms, my legs, my belly"? Then they don't take care of that same body because they say, "I don't like it anyway." This is a complete paradox. How can you take good care of something you don't like? This is where the mental transformation begins. First, you need to accept it. This body is your home, the only place you carry. Even if you don't love it, you have to respect it, just like you wouldn't damage a rented house. In fact, having a morning routine is the most concrete form of this respect. Looking in the mirror every morning and asking, "How can I treat you well today?" is an incredibly powerful start for your mental health. Maybe today it will just be washing your face thoroughly, maybe applying a nice-smelling cream to your body, maybe combing your hair carefully. These small actions engrave the thought, "I value myself," in your mind. And after a while, this thought seeps into every area of your life. You start to value yourself more in your work, your relationships, your goals. Looking at it from another angle, The care you show your body actually creates an area of control. There are so many things in life that are beyond your control. What will happen at work, how people will treat you, what tomorrow will bring. But your morning routine of looking after yourself, that's entirely within your control. This small area of control gives your mind a sense of security, saying, "Life may be chaotic, but I can take care of myself," is an incredibly empowering feeling. And over time, this feeling turns into self-confidence. By the way, when I look at the statistics, I see that many people like my videos but haven't clicked the subscribe button yet. Why stay on the sidelines when we can walk this journey together? I truly wish with all my heart for you to be part of this change by subscribing. Also, if you give the new hype feature a chance, you'll make a great contribution to boosting our videos. Thank you for being here. 2. When you look in the mirror, what you like shouldn't be the makeup, but the care you show yourself. Let me give you an example. Try this if you like. One morning when you wake up, do a very long makeup routine and really bring out your best self. But the night before, don't sleep at all. Don't drink any water. Leave your hair as it is and don't clean your skin. Then, if you like, look in the mirror. No matter how beautiful you look, I assure you that you will feel something is missing inside, because what you see in that mirror will essentially be just a mask. Now do the same experiment this way. Try it another day, for example. Go to bed early and get a good night's sleep. Get up in the morning and take a shower. Then carefully dry your hair nicely. Take care of your skin or set aside 10 to 15 minutes for yourself afterwards. After all that, if you want, don't wear any makeup. Then look in the mirror. That's when you'll see the real difference between the two. You'll notice the real sparkle in your eyes, the noble and upright posture, the genuine comfort on your face. That's exactly what I wanted to talk about. That's the real power of care. As most of us would guess, makeup is temporary, but care is permanent. An eyeliner line is wiped off in the evening, but the care you show yourself speaks to every cell. When you sleep regularly, the area under your eyes is already bright, so you don't need concealer. When you drink plenty of water, your lips are already plump and vibrant, so they stand out even without lipstick. When you apply a mask to your hair every week, it is shiny and healthy, and you don't need any products for its shine. Do you see? Actually, what you like is not the shade of that lipstick or mascara. What you like is the feeling of, I value myself and it shows. That feeling is not sold in any makeup product. Essentially, do you know what people see when they look at you? Yes, they may see your makeup, but what they really see is your energy. Even the most expensive foundation can't give energy to a tired woman, but the freshness on the face of a woman who is rested, who has taken care of herself, who has done her morning routine, cannot be replicated by any cosmetic product, because care radiates from the inside out. Makeup, on the other hand, only stays on the surface. That look you like when you look in the mirror, that posture, that I'm here feeling, none of these are applied with a brush. They come from those 15 minutes you set aside for yourself every day, from those little rituals. Let me give you an example. Think of the moments when you felt most beautiful. I bet most of them weren't when your makeup was perfect. They were when you woke up early, prepared yourself a nice breakfast, applied scented oil to your body after a shower, or woke up between clean sheets. These are the moments when you said to yourself, "Today, I am here." When you look in the mirror in those moments, whether you're wearing makeup or not, what you see makes you happy. Because what you see is a woman who values herself, and never forget that she is beautiful because she knows how to treat herself well. 3. When you learn to value yourself, you will never need the approval of others. When a woman wakes up in the morning and stops asking herself, "What will the people around me think when they see me today?" she has essentially achieved true freedom. Unfortunately, many people have this misconception. In other words, when we put on makeup, we actually have others in mind. Most of the time, we ask ourselves, do I look good enough? How will they receive me where I'm going? Or what will people passing by think or say when I walk down the street? Now imagine the exact opposite. For example, imagine waking up in the morning with only one question in your mind. Ask yourself, how can I make myself feel good today? Then everything changes, doesn't it? Because this question essentially takes the power out of other people's hands and automatically gives it to you. In other words, the value of beauty no longer lies with some other jury, but with you yourself. Of course, there's also this. When you learn to value yourself, you realize something. Most people don't think about you as much as you think they do. Everyone is busy with their own lives. While you spend hours trying to make your makeup perfect, the person opposite you may just glance at you for a second and move on. But what about you? If you had used the time, energy, and thought you spent doing that makeup for yourself, you would be much stronger now. Valuing yourself means channeling that energy in the right direction. It means asking, what do I want, instead of, what will they say? And when you start asking that question, your life changes. Of course, I agree, wearing makeup is definitely not a bad thing. But if you can't go out without makeup, then there's a problem. If no one can see you without makeup, if you can't even go to the grocery store, if you say, I can't go out like this, then makeup is not your freedom, it has become your chains. In fact, a woman who values herself knows this. I am beautiful with makeup, and I am beautiful without makeup, because my value doesn't come from what I put on my face. This self-confidence doesn't come from outside. This self-confidence comes from the 10 minutes you set aside for yourself every morning, from the moment you look in the mirror and say, you are enough. In addition, if you've noticed, the most beautiful women are usually the ones who care the least about beauty. Why? Because they spend their energy valuing themselves, not trying to impress others. They exercise, but not for six-pack abs, but to feel strong. They eat healthily, but not to look thin, but to feel energetic. They take care of their skin, but not for Instagram photos, but to love themselves when they look in the mirror. Do you see the difference? When the goal changes, the energy changes, and that energy gives you a power that no one can take away from you. 4. A skincare routine is actually a form of meditation practice. Now, when I say meditation, most people think of someone sitting in the lotus position with their eyes closed, right? But what I mean by meditation is actually much simpler. It's about being exactly where you want to be in that moment, focusing on the present, completely silencing your mind, and trying to feel every cell in your body. That's exactly what I'm talking about. The skincare routine is actually based on this. So, when you get up in the morning and wash your face, for example, you feel the water touching your skin. Or let me put it this way, you notice the movement of your fingers as you apply moisturizer. As you brush your hair, you almost feel each strand passing through your hands. What I'm trying to say is this. These actions are definitely not mechanical. They are practices that bring you into the present moment, shape who you are right now, and free you from that endless cycle of thoughts. That's why I call the skincare routine a meditation practice. Also, I should add this. For example, do you know what the greatest benefit of meditation is? It reduces stress, increases focus, and brings inner peace. Your care routine does the same thing. When you set aside time for yourself when you wake up in the morning, you start the day's chaos more prepared. Those 10 minutes become your shield. You say, I've already taken care of myself today, so whatever the world brings, I'm ready. And that's an incredibly powerful feeling. You feel spiritually fulfilled, because even before the day begins, you've already given something to yourself. And that nourishes you throughout the entire day. Of course, there's also this. In meditation, you focus on your breath. In your care routine, you focus on your touch. Both do the same thing. They bring you back to your body. Because most of the time, we live disconnected from our bodies. The mind is somewhere, the body is somewhere else. But when you wash your face and feel that cold water on your skin, that's when you connect with your body. You say, "Ah, I'm here. This is my body. This is my life." And this awareness connects you to life. You no longer live like a robot. You live consciously. I also want to mention that a skincare routine requires discipline, just like meditation. Doing it at the same time every day, in the same order. This repetition brings peace to the mind. Because the mind loves order, it loves predictability. You know what you're going to do when you wake up in the morning. You're going to wash your face, apply your toner, and apply your moisturizer. This sequence gives you a sense of control. You say, "Life may be chaotic, but my morning routine never changes." And this creates a foundation for you. A foundation on which your feet stand firmly. 5. The investment you make in yourself automatically reflects in every area of your life. When a woman disciplines herself to set aside a specific time for herself, when she wakes up in the morning, she doesn't just look better, she actually becomes much more effective in her other tasks throughout the day. She becomes much more balanced in her relationships with others, and, in general, more determined in her goals. Because investing in yourself is like a domino effect. When you knock over the first domino, the others naturally start falling one after another. Of course, when you get up early in the morning and take care of yourself, you are essentially sending this message: I am valuable, and my priority is definitely myself. This mindset translates into saying, I have a say in this project when you go to work. Or when you get home, it turns into saying, I'm tired enough today, I need some rest. And over time, it allows you to say, I really deserve this. As you can see, a little care you show yourself clearly defines the limits of the respect you expect the whole world to show you. As you can see, discipline works the same way. When you establish a morning routine for yourself, you're not just taking care of your skin, you're also teaching your brain discipline. When you say, I get up at this time every morning, I follow this routine every morning, your brain learns this pattern. Then this discipline seeps into other areas of your life. It becomes easier to meet project deadlines at work. You achieve your goal of going to the gym. You develop a habit of reading books. Because you are now someone who does what they say, you keep the promises you make to yourself. And this builds your character. This is the first return on your investment in yourself, a strong character. In addition, there's also the issue of energy. A woman who takes care of herself is more energetic. She sleeps regularly, eats healthily, and doesn't neglect herself. Naturally, this energy makes you more productive at work. You are more lively in meetings, your ideas are clearer, and your focus is stronger. When you come home, you have energy to give to your family and friends. Because your tank isn't empty, it's full. So how did you fill that tank? By investing in yourself, that morning routine, that regular sleep, those healthy meals. These are your fuel. And with this fuel, you perform better in every area of your life. Not investing in yourself is like trying to drive a car with an empty tank. You won't get anywhere. In fact, it's clear. You see the difference in your relationships too. A woman who values herself expects less from others because she already gives herself what she needs. You no longer expect a man, a friend, or a family to complete you. You are already complete. This makes your relationships healthy. You are no longer needy, but sharing. And people notice this. People who value themselves attract others, because you are now a source of energy, not an energy drain. People want to be with you because you make them feel good too. So what is the source of this? Again, it's the investment you make in yourself. 6. Taking care of yourself is an identity-building process that requires consistency. Identity is actually the definitive answer to the question, who am I really? The state of being well-groomed that I mentioned is essentially related to this. So, for example, when you take care of yourself every morning when you wake up, you are clearly saying, this is the kind of person I am. You are saying, I am a woman who values herself. I am a disciplined person. I definitely don't give up. Of course, over time, these words I'm talking about become part of your identity. But I want you to note that this doesn't happen easily in just a day or two. So, just because you put on makeup one day or applied a face mask doesn't mean your identity changes instantly. The process of building that identity I'm talking about takes time. You need to take care of yourself regularly, every day, every week, or even every month with the same dedication. Once you do that, being well-groomed is no longer just something you do. It becomes a clear part of your identity. Of course, there's a reality that the human brain loves consistency. For example, doing something once doesn't mean, okay, I've done it. But if you do something for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, your brain registers it. This is part of who I am. This is a part of me. And that's when the change happens. You are no longer someone trying to be well-groomed. You are someone who is well-groomed. The difference is huge. One requires effort. You constantly struggle. The other is natural, part of you, a reflection of your identity. So how do you get to that point? Through consistency. By repeating the same routine every morning. Even if you're tired, even if you're lazy, by doing it without saying, I'll skip today. Of course, there's also this. Identity building is actually hidden in the stories you tell yourself. What do you say about yourself? Do you say, I'm very messy, I can't organize anything? Or do you say, I'm a person who loves order, I take care of myself every morning? To be able to say the second sentence, you need proof, and that proof comes from what you do. When you stick to your morning routine for a month, you can say the second sentence. Because it's now a reality, not a fantasy. You really are someone who loves order. And this identity empowers you. Because when you say, this is who I am, it becomes easier to act accordingly. Looking at it from another angle, don't immediately equate consistency with perfection. No one can be 100% perfect every day. Some days you just wash your face, that's it. Some days you follow the full routine. The important thing is never to give up. Even if you skip a day, you come back the next day. Because identity building is not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. You are a woman who takes care of herself 80% of the time for a year, and you are much stronger than someone who is 100% perfect for 3 months and then completely gives up. Because you have learned, I am someone who gets back up when I fall. I am someone who doesn't give up. That is true identity. 7. Taking good care of your body is actually a preliminary agreement you make with your future self. Now, let's do a thought experiment with you. Let me put it this way. Imagine you are writing a letter to your 55-year-old self. What would you write? Of course, I'm saying this assuming you are younger than 55. Those who are older can increase the number I mentioned. What would you write, for example? I hope you are healthy. I hope you are full of energy. I hope your body is free of any pain. You would write, right? Now we need to see this reality. That 55-year-old woman will actually be the result of what you do today. So if you take good care of yourself today, that woman I mentioned will actually be much healthier. But if you neglect certain things today, she will naturally be more tired and perhaps just as sick. Do you understand what I mean now? How you treat your body today will essentially turn into a gift for you tomorrow, or conversely, it will lead to some negative consequences. So it's like a deal you make with yourself. You take good care of yourself today, and the future gives you a good life. Or you neglect yourself today, and your future situation brings you some difficulties. Unfortunately, it's a bitter pill to swallow, but most people don't think about this when they're young. They say, "I'm healthy anyway, I have energy, so what's the big deal?" They stay up late, don't drink enough water, don't protect themselves from the sun, and eat irregularly. And since the price isn't immediately apparent, it seems like there's no problem. But the body records everything. Every time you stay up late, your skin takes note. Every time you eat irregularly, your metabolism takes note. Every time you're exposed to the sun without protection, your skin cells take note. And 10 years later, 15 years later, these notes come back to you as a bill. That's when you say, "I wish I had taken care of myself when I was young." But it's too late. The critical question here is, so what should you do? You need to make a deal with your future self today. You need to say, "Okay, I'll give you a good body. You give me a long, healthy, energetic life," and you need to stick to that deal. Every day, every morning when you put on sunscreen, you're actually telling the skin on your hands, "Don't worry, I'm protecting you." Every night when you sleep regularly, you're telling your body, "Rest, I'm giving you time." Every time you eat a healthy meal, you're telling your cells, "I'm giving you the best fuel." These may seem like small things, but small things that accumulate over 10 years make a huge difference. Looking at it from another angle, your body is your only home. If you rented a house, how would you take care of it? Would you damage the walls? Would you not clean it? Would you neglect its maintenance? No. Because you're going to live in that house, you need to protect it. Your body is the same. Even more important, because you can't change your body. You were born with this body, and you will die with this body. You will live in this body for the 60, 70, 80 years in between. That's why you need to take the best care of it. Your future self will live as a result of your decisions today. Do you want to give them a good life or a difficult one? 8. Taking care of yourself, not for others, is your true power. Taking care of ourselves for someone else actually means handing over our power to someone else, as I mentioned earlier. So, if someone else doesn't like your situation, of course you'll feel bad. Or if they don't notice you, you'll think your efforts were wasted, right? But when you start taking care of yourself, the power is completely in your hands. So even if no one notices, you know you're taking care of yourself, and you'll be happy because you feel good. That's where true freedom begins. That's what real power is. What I'm trying to say is this. When a woman gets ready for someone else, she starts waiting for their approval. I think this is a very dangerous situation because people's tastes are very changeable. Sometimes you can't predict them, and it's completely out of your control. So today, someone might say to you, "You're so beautiful, you look so well groomed." But tomorrow they might not care about that at all, and you become dependent on that approval every time. You start wanting more compliments, more approval, and more admiration. But over time, none of this starts to feel enough, because no amount of external approval can actually fill that void inside you. However, when you do things for yourself, that void I mentioned starts to fill more easily, because now you're giving yourself approval, and that's a power no one can take away from you. In addition to this, another problem with taking care of yourself for others is that it's not sustainable. One day you're tired, but you have to go out, so you put on makeup. You feel awful, but you don't want people to ask, Are you okay? So you put on lipstick. See? You're always wearing a mask. The real you and the version you present to the world are different. This wears you down, drains you. But when you take care of yourself, it's not a burden, it's a pleasure. Even if you're tired, you wash your face because it soothes you. You put on makeup because it makes you happy, not to make others happy. The most explosive part of this is that the strongest women are the ones who treat themselves well, even when no one else is around. You're home on the weekend, you won't see anyone. What do? Do you stay in your pajamas for 3 days? Or do you still take a shower, brush your hair, and get dressed? If you do the latter, congratulations, you are strong. Because you value yourself even if no one else sees you. You do it for yourself. And this habit reflects in every area of your life. In your work, your relationships, your goals. Everywhere you strive for yourself, not for others. This makes you invincible. 9. Makeup makes you look beautiful, but self-confidence makes you feel truly powerful. Let me start this point with a simple truth. Makeup is definitely not an internal thing, because you put it on in the morning and it comes off in the evening. Tomorrow, the same scenario starts all over again. But self-confidence is a very internal state. Once you gain it, no one can take it away from you. It's there when you wake up. It's there when you get out of the shower. It's even there when you're working out. Ultimately, confidence becomes part of your DNA over time. The thought, "I am truly enough," penetrates so deeply that you start to feel strong whether you wear makeup or not. Actually, this is something makeup definitely cannot achieve, because, as you know, makeup is superficial. Self-confidence, however, comes from much deeper within a person. It comes from your soul, your character, and the value you place on yourself. Of course, there's also this. What do people actually see? Yes, they see your makeup, but what they really feel is your energy. When a woman with self-confidence walks into a room, people notice her, whether she's wearing makeup or not. Because her posture is different, her gaze is different, her speech is different. Every move she makes says, "I am here, and I am valuable." But a woman without self-confidence can get lost in a crowd, even with the most perfect makeup, because there is no energy, no power, no belief. Do you see? People don't actually see your makeup, they see your soul. And confidence is what makes your soul strong. Let me ask you something. When did you feel most powerful? I bet it wasn't when your makeup was perfect. Maybe it was when you achieved something. Maybe it was when you overcame something. Maybe it was when you helped someone. Maybe it was when you made a promise to yourself and kept it. In those moments, it didn't matter whether you wore makeup or not, because you were strong from within. That's what confidence is. It's a power that comes from within, not from the outside. And this power keeps you standing in any situation. Makeup, on the other hand, is only there on good days, only when you're ready. Of course, wearing makeup isn't bad, of course, but being dependent on makeup, that's the problem. If you can't go out without makeup, if you feel worthless without it, then there's a problem. Because you've placed your strength in the wrong place. Your strength should be within you, not outside. A confident woman says, "I look beautiful when I wear makeup, but I'm also good enough without it." Do you see the difference? Makeup becomes a choice, not a necessity, and this freedom is incredibly empowering. Looking at it from another angle, how do you gain self-confidence? With every investment you make in yourself, with every promise you keep to yourself, with every day you don't neglect yourself. By doing your routine when you wake up in the morning, by keeping your promise to exercise, by eating healthy, by making time for yourself. Every small success builds your self-confidence. The thought, "I can do it, I do what I say, I am valuable," grows stronger. And after a while, You feel strong even when you look in the mirror without makeup, because your strength is no longer in the makeup, it's in you. You are strong in every state. You are valuable in every state. Makeup is just an accessory you put on. But you already exist. That's what self-confidence is. And this is more valuable, more lasting, more real than any kind of makeup. 10. Becoming your best self is not a destination. It is essentially a journey of making conscious choices every day. Many people think, one day I will truly reach my best version and stay there permanently. But the reality is definitely not like that. Your best self is not actually a finish line. Your best self is a journey shaped by the proper, disciplined, and consistent choices you make every morning when you wake up. For example, did you take care of yourself today? Did you choose healthy enough food today? Or did you decide to go to bed early today? All of these are conscious choices that lead you to your best self. And of course, these choices will never end throughout your life. You will wake up again tomorrow and make these kinds of choices again. But what I want to say is this. By making these choices, you are actually determining who you will be in the future. So this is a long-distance marathon. It is definitely not a sprint that will end in a short period of time. And remember, the strongest runners are the ones who keep running every day. Unfortunately, most people think, I'll go to the gym for 3 months, get fit, and then I'm done. But what happens when you quit after 3 months? You go back to how you were before, because your best self isn't a destination you reach. Your best self is a lifestyle you maintain. Working out every day, eating healthy every day, taking care of yourself every day. These aren't tasks to be completed, they're a lifestyle. You're progressing every day on this journey. Some days you go fast, some days you go slow, some days you stumble, but you get up and keep going. That persistence is your best self, because your best self is not giving up. Remember, the most important thing on this journey is to be honest with yourself. Did you make a bad choice today? Okay, admit it. But don't judge yourself, don't punish yourself. Just make a better choice tomorrow. Because this journey is full of mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. The important thing is to start over after every mistake. Say, okay, I didn't take care of myself today, but I will tomorrow. And actually do it. This honesty is what brings you to your best self, because you're no longer lying to yourself. You see the truth and act accordingly. If you've watched this video to the end, the transformation has already begun. You can be part of this community by liking and subscribing to the channel. See taking care of yourself not as a luxury, but as a discipline, because you deserve the best. Until we meet in the next video, be aware of this. The only limit to your potential is you. Choose to show up as your best self today and watch the difference. See you soon.